Over the years, we've had a number of different cats live in the house with us, and we've always in the past used what I'll call a traditional or conventional litter box, something like this, and we've always been successful with that. This is the type of box that has a tub on the bottom and then a top that snaps onto it. Some of them have a flap on the front, a little door. Most of them have a filter on top, or a charcoal filter for odor control. This has always worked for us until recently, when our newest cat moved in the house. He's a big male cat, and he had, let's say, a little issue with this type of box. Or maybe it was us that had the issue with it. He's a perfectly healthy, perfectly happy cat, but what we realized was that when he was in the box and when he would urinate, either because of his size or just the way he was or his plumbing or whatever, he tended to shoot a stream on the inside right in the area of this seam, right where the top and the bottom come together. Now these boxes are all made with some sort of provision, with an overhanging lip or a little interlocking mechanism or something. They're all made to try to keep everything inside, but it didn't work for him. In fact, we tried a couple of different boxes, and even the best ones, even the ones that had a real special interlocking kind of a seam, the urine would get out. And I realized what was happening was, it wasn't that it was actually shooting out, but when the inside of the box would get wet, some of it would actually wick. It would wick up and over the seam and make its way out. And it seemed like we always then had a wet spot or damp spot on the floor. So I wanted something else for him, and one day we were at the local pet store and I saw a different sort of a box, a litter box, and what I realized was it was really nothing more than just a plastic container like this one. It appeared to be about an 18-gallon size. This is an 18-gallon container, and then it had a special sort of a top, and the top on that box was molded with a round opening at one end, and at the other side it had some raised ribs and a pattern molded into it. And the idea was that the cat simply jumps up and either jumps onto the box or goes straight into the hole, uses the box on the inside, and when he comes out, ideally he'll walk across the lid and some of the litter from his feet will actually land on the lid and stay there. This type of box then has no seam on the side. The cat can be inside the box doing whatever he wants, kicking litter, spraying the spray, doing anything, and it's just going to hit the side and run down to the bottom. So I made one of these earlier, and it has worked out wonderfully. It's been perfect for this big cat, and I'm going to show how to make another one today. Again, this is just a standard 18-gallon plastic container. I saw them the other day at Walmart for $5. They come in from many different manufacturers. This one is a Sterilite. I bought the kind that just snaps on. They make them with latches that hold the top on. The cat will not be pushing up on the top at all, so there's no pressure on the top. You don't need those latches. This works just fine. Based on what I saw at the pet store, and based on the earlier box that I made, I think the size of the hole that works good is about 8 inches. Now, I took just a standard lid from a cooking pot. This is an 8-inch lid, and that's what I'm going to use as a template. I think just about any house cat in the world can go through an 8-inch hole, and he probably would work with even a smaller hole. But this at least is very comfortable. The cats don't have any trouble with it. What we're going to do is put the lid down towards one end. And again, the reason is that if we can put this box up against a wall, or even better in a corner, it encourages the cat to come out and step at least a little bit on the top before jumping onto the floor. And any time the cat steps on the top on his way out, it's going to help shake some of the litter off and keep it on the lid, which makes it a lot easier to get it back in. Now, I've put masking tape on the outside of this lid just because we're going to mark a line with a marker, and this way I don't mark the lid. So I'm just going to draw a line on the top of the container. This type of plastic that these containers are made out of is relatively soft. It's very easy to cut. In fact, it can be a little bit too easy to cut. What we want to do is make sure that when we cut this hole, we keep it as smooth as possible without any little cracks or nicks, so that when Kitty goes in and out, it doesn't catch his fur. I'm going to start with a sharp knife and make an incision towards the middle. Then I'm going to work with scissors to cut the hole itself, because scissors make a nice clean cut. So I'm just going to jab it with the knife, and break the knife off. Look at that. Okay, that was not expected. I think I have just enough left where I can make a nice starting hole for the scissors. So I have a hole for the scissors. Now I'm going to just work very slowly and carefully around the hole with the scissors and try to keep a nice smooth edge. When I get out to the edge, I'll slow down a little bit and just try to make a nice smooth incision all the way around. I think on the last one I used a pair of aviation snips, and they worked quite good too. You could see that on this one I've made some nicks in the top. I don't think that'll hurt anything. In fact, the top will get scratched up a little bit as Kitty goes in and out. But the scissors make for a nice smooth edge. We just try to finish that. And again, if you want to experiment, try with a little bit smaller hole. I can tell you that when we first introduced the big cat to this, we put some of his old litter in the box to encourage him to smell that this was his place. We put the old litter in the box, and then we actually picked him up and kind of took him and put his front paws and head down in the hole just to show him what was there and let him stand on it. We did that just one time. He was very agreeable to it. We did that just one time, and from then on he began using the box and had no problem. And in fact, we have another cat who moved in who is somewhat more meek and timid. And in the same way, I simply lifted him up, stuck his head down in the hole, and then let him stand here, and he also began using the box without any trouble. So here I've made a hole. It feels pretty good. With the knife, with the edge that I have left, if we need to, we can just kind of smooth off if there's any little burrs or edges. We can just kind of break those off by scraping it with a sharp edge there. And that actually feels pretty good. I got one little piece here. It'll work out. And then there we go. And then that edge will be fine. We'll put about 3 inches of litter in the bottom of the box. And with 3 inches of litter in the box, that's very heavy. There's no problem with the box tipping or wiggling. And this has proven very successful for us to keep things cleaner. If you want to try this, I hope it works well for you and for your kitties.